Okay, what if the sun could talk? I mean, really talk. Not just in, light and heat, but in actual words. Today, we're going to dive into a story that's built around a real historical event, a massive solar storm from way back in 1859 that just might have carried a message across time, a warning. So the real question is, what would it say? And how would our world completely change if we were the ones to actually get that message?
I know. It sounds like pure science fiction, doesn't it? I mean, our star, this massive ball of fire 93 million miles away, sending us a deliberate, structured message. But think about it. Could the physics of a solar storm, that violent, that powerful, be just weird enough to bend the rules of time and information? That's the really fascinating question at the heart of this whole thing.
So, our story doesn't start in the distant past. It actually kicks off in the very near future. Just picture it: NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center. You've got data streaming in from satellites, all of them keeping a close eye on the sun. It's just a day like any other, you know? Another solar storm is kind of brewing on the horizon. But buried deep, deep within all that digital noise, something impossible is about to be discovered.
And that discovery? Well, it all starts with a signal. A signal that, by every single metric, should not exist. It's a complete anomaly, something that defies every model we have for how the sun is supposed to behave.
So, what exactly did NASA's algorithms flag? A very low-frequency anomaly. Okay, let's break that down. Think of the sun as this giant cosmic radio station that's usually just blasting out chaotic static, right? That's the solar wind. But this was totally different. Underneath all that noise, there was a clear, structured pattern. It was repeating over and over again. This wasn't random. It was organized. It was, for sure, a signal hiding right there in plain sight.
Now, to really understand this impossible signal from 2025, we have to take a trip back in time, and I mean way back, all the way to a moment in 1859, when the world got hit with the most powerful solar storm in all of recorded history. So, on the morning of September 1st, 1859, this astronomer, Richard Carrington, is looking at the sun and sees this incredible flash of white light, a huge solar flare. Then, just 18 hours later, which is a tiny fraction of the usual travel time, a billion-ton cloud of plasma absolutely slams into Earth's magnetic field. And the results, they were both spectacular and, frankly, terrifying.
The impact on the technology of the 1800s was just astounding. We're talking telegraph operators reporting sparks literally flying from their machines. Some of them even got powerful electric shocks. The auroras were so bright that people could read a newspaper by their light at night as far south as Cuba. This was way more than just a pretty light show. This was the sun physically, violently messing with our planet's tech.
And this is where you really start to see the stakes. Back in 1859, a sparking telegraph was, a strange thing, a curiosity. But today, a Carrington-level event could mean a global blackout. No GPS, no internet, no banking. The damage wouldn't be in the millions. We're talking trillions, potentially knocking our entire civilization back decades. It's the exact same storm, but a completely, terrifyingly different world.
All right, so with that context, let's jump back to our NASA team in 2025. They've got this bizarre structured signal, and they're starting to suspect it's somehow connected to that ghost storm from 1859. The big question is, what is it trying to say?
Decoding this thing was a monumental effort. It started with that first anomaly, but pretty soon they assembled a total dream team: cryptographers, linguists, even historians. And the huge breakthrough came when they compared the signal's pattern to these old, dusty telegraph logs from 1859, and what they found was incredible. The solar storm didn't just scramble the messages. It actually wrote a new one right into the chaos.
In this is the absolutely chilling message they uncovered. Heavens split asunder, wires alive with serpent fire. Beware the iron veins of your world, they shall scream and shatter. Prepare the ark against the flood of light. Signed R.C., Observer of the Wound. I mean, just listen to that. It perfectly describes what happened in 1859. And then it warns us about our iron veins, our modern electrical grid. And that signature, R.C., could it really be Richard Carrington?
Now, just imagine for a second that this message gets out to the public, a real, authenticated warning from the past about a clear and present danger.
The world wouldn't just panic. It would fundamentally, completely transform.
The scientific community would just explode. You'd have amateur radio operators all over the world confirming they found the signal too. Physicists would be proposing these wild new theories, like temporal entanglement, this mind-bending idea that huge events can somehow get linked across time. Of course, you'd have the skeptics screaming hoax. But then comes the smoking gun. They find microscopic char marks on actual telegraph paper from 1859, a physical scar that is a perfect match for the signal's waveform. It's real.
And you can bet governments would act, and fast. And, pretty much true to form, the US would probably rush to protect its data centers, throwing billions at hardening the cloud. China would focus on its power grid, making sure the economy stays stable no matter what. And Russia, with that classic touch of bravado, would be talking about Soviet resilience while quietly protecting its assets in space. It would be this massive, uncoordinated global scramble to prepare.
Oh, and the financial markets? They'd react in a heartbeat. The risk of a global catastrophe would get priced in overnight. Insurance premiums for things like power plants and data centers, they'd go through the roof. But hey, where there's a crisis, there's opportunity, right? Companies working on storm-proof tech would see their stocks absolutely skyrocket. It's the classic story of fear and greed driving the market.
And what about the rest of us? Society at large? Well, we'd probably splinter. You'd have a huge chunk of people diving headfirst down the rabbit hole of conspiracy theories. Then you'd have the preppers, right? Buying generators, stocking up on food, new art and music, and even religions would pop up, inspired by this message from the sun. And all the while, you'd have a very loud minority just stubbornly insisting the whole thing is the biggest hoax in history. So, when you step back from all the chaos, what's the ultimate takeaway from this incredible time-traveling warning? What does it all really mean for us, living our lives under the same powerful and, let's face it, unpredictable star?
Okay, and now for maybe the most terrifying part of this entire story. That number, 12%. And listen. This isn't part of the fiction. This is a real scientific calculation. Solar physicists estimate there is a 12% chance every single decade of another Carrington-level storm hitting Earth. The message from the past might be a story, but the threat is very, very real.
But in the end, maybe the true message wasn't just about disaster. Maybe its greatest effect would be to create a shared sense of purpose. It would force all of humanity to finally recognize our shared vulnerability, that we're all on this tiny planet orbiting a massive temperamental star. And when you're faced with a reality like that, all our other divisions start to seem pretty small, don't they? And so, we'll leave you with this question. Forget about governments and Wall Street for a second. If you, personally, knew this was coming, if you saw that message with your own two eyes, what is the absolute first thing you would do? It's a question worth thinking about. Thanks for joining me.